Okay.
We would run that.
It is recording.
Okay. Hey, I'm so sorry I'm not there, but thank you. Team effort. That was incredible. Thank you.
Issues. It's kind of freedom.
Text me, Jesse, if you need me.
The content.
Okay.
The content.
Okay.
Thanks for
Happy meeting. Thank you.
Otherwise, it's like we're gonna. Right. And yeah.
Good job, Jesse.
Teamwork. Yeah, that's fine. I can support my resume.
The town.
Yeah. I mean,
Never,
it could happen.
never really happened.
Just as a note, I'm happy to take the meet, you guys.
Sweet.
Oh, and just a reminder, when talking, make sure your green light's on, so everyone can.
Thanks.
It's not for everyone. Oh, I've got a hard stop at 9. According to my infant
I
son.
think we should,
I think we should shoot
always have
for
the
that.
hard stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good talk.
It is 7:10. We're calling to order. Call. I'll just go around the table. We have Alex. Present. Brian.
Here.
Jesse. Here. Eric.
So,
CG.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
And Kat.
Here.
Is that all of us? Yeah.
that's all.
All of us. Hey, well done.
It's like a complete set.
First time in a few years.
Yeah, well done. Minutes. Did you get the minutes? It was just a few days ago. I sent them.
I did
out,
get it.
So. Yeah.
Got him.
You got him, Kat?
Mhm.
Yay. Cool. So, public comment. And I can't see that far, so I don't see if we've got anyone. I don't think so.
No, I don't see anybody else.
Okay. So, first on, we have a community member with us today. And this is.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yay, thanks for coming. An offer of a donation for a parks asset. Can I use this? Yes. Yay, thank you.
Right. Hi, I'm Sarah Biagini. I'm here on behalf of the Mountain Forum for Peace. Some brief information about our organization. We were founded in 1985 here in Nederland with the mission to learn how to bring peace into our personal lives, to support others in striving for a life of nonviolence, and to encourage awareness of the many diverse ways of living. Our membership consists primarily of Boulder and Gilpin County mountain residents. And we host 2 annual events, one being the community yard sale, which functions as our fundraiser for the year, and the other, which we have not done in recent years, but we're hoping to bring back this winter, is the Liz Kale Express Your Peace contest, which is a juried visual art and poetry competition in honor of the late local writer Liz Kale. And then MFP also awards grant money to projects, regional projects, and international projects that align with our mission. And we're always accepting grant applications on a rolling basis. So when a member suggests how to spend our yard sale money, we look into it. And one suggestion has been to purchase a bench or 2 for Barker Meadows. So we would like to donate a bench, or ideally 2 benches, perhaps, depending on cost. It's somewhat dependent on that, but we would ideally like for there to be 2 stone benches with a plaque on each, tastefully engraved with a peace forward text. And in keeping with the musical theme of the park's revitalization, we are thinking that the text would perhaps be a quote by a musician, or maybe a quote about promoting peace through music, or maybe even a song lyric, something succinct, such as, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace," by Jimi Hendrix. I don't know, there's 1,000 John Lennon quotes we could all reference. in our minds. Also, like To Shake Your Rump is to Be Environmentally Aware by David Byrne, something like that. So we are in a research phase, just looking into how much benches would cost, and we just wanted to propose that to you all.
First off, thank you so much for the generous thought. Personally, I think it's a great idea. Does anyone have commentary on that? As we have,
Just like logistics, I asked Nikki if this would be something that we could do, and she said, ask PROSAB.
okay. I have no objection. Does anyone have objection or further discussion? I would take a bench if one's offered to us. Two.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say if it works in the I guess I would just say if it works in the design of the park, then that sounds great. And yeah, curious what others think.
I'm happy to move that we vote to accept the generous offer and pick out some good spots along Barker to get those benches put up.
So I'll ask Sam and CT and Alex and Brian, because Eric and I have involvement with Mountain Forestry, so we shall recuse ourselves.
Indeed.
I salute your ethic. All right, so I am formally moving that we accept kind offer from Forum for Peace for some one or two or however many feasible benches. To be installed.
Yeah, before I second that, I do have one more question, Sarah, if you don't mind. Is the idea that Mountain Forum for Peace would procure said benches and donate the benches, or donate money for us to procure benches?
Well, I guess, I mean, maybe we would need to confer with Nikki a little bit more. I mean, I think we are willing to procure the benches and, you know.
That's, I asked because I think that sounds best.
Yeah.
I think if,
Sure.
if one of us needs to stick a hand up to figure out how to buy a bench, I think it would be less successful.
Yeah, no, we're totally willing to do that research and, you know, go through that process, and we'll just make sure that we keep you all posted and talk to Nikki in terms of what materials and style would be best. And placement, of course. Yeah, so when we have some more specific, like, images or descriptions or whatever, we'll send it along to you guys.
Extremely generous, thank you.
Sounds great.
Do any of you, are you aware of the bench that's in between here, and then if you walk down that trail at the parking lot, like you could.
Yeah.
To town, so there's halfway down, there's like a stone bench.
Yeah.
So it's more akin to that, is what is being proposed. I got a picture of it somewhere. It's just-
I think the adopt bench guidelines have the process we could do to select, you know, the placement and, you know, review whatever quote we land on and just use that same process.
I think most of the quotes that we've processed so far have not been for like a stone bench. That's specifically envisioned just in terms of celerity. I think you should take that first foot forward in terms of procuring the bench. It just may take us a good deal longer if it was on PROSAB. Not to say it's not an option. We'd certainly be willing to explore. But a stone is where you've got your heart set. That might be a different kettle of fish.
It's all right. It's our ideal bench, but we'll see when we price things.
So that's, I mean, Nikki just said it was up to PROSAB. So it's, yeah.
I mean, stone benches are generally beautiful.
So it's
Seems
not
like they go in with ethic and.
We could do something with,
throne of swords or something.
and we could do something with local,
I think a marble with called.
maybe local sandstone,
You know.
from the Lion's Quarry.
So, at any rate, we think we need a remotion, or shall I second that? I second CC's motion that we accept the offer of the stone bench in general and principle.
Motion is made and seconded.
I will do a roll. Sam?
Yes.
CT?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Kat?
Yes.
All right, we'll move forward with that. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Keep us in
Thank
touch, and thank you for coming to a meeting. So nice.
Do you all
It's
have
a nice thought.
one thing, just a quick question on my time. Do you have a kind of a timeline on your end that you anticipate?
No.
Okay.
No, one of our board members has like volunteered / been assigned to start doing the research, so hopefully, maybe by our next, so we meet, every other month, so hopefully by our next meeting, we will
Sounds
maybe
good.
have more information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I have budget next. So I put that on first because I feel like it's probably the most important thing that parks have to deal with, because everything revolves around the budget and around like staff time and what we need to do with that.
I do have an update on that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Before we go there, so
Yeah.
we didn't actually approve the minutes.
Yeah, would you like to go back and approve the minutes? I didn't hear from anybody, any edits. So-
Yeah, and well, I didn't read them, so I can't motion nor second.
Okay.
But I just thought, I'm looking at the agenda and we didn't cover that.
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
There's a motion to approve and a motion to second, so the minutes are approved.
Right, on the budget.
Yeah, it was quite helpful for me to do the minutes. I realized that I do, and it does help me just plan. Yeah, figure out what we were discussed and what our to-dos are. It's kind of lengthy, but it was helpful. Yeah, so Eric, what's your update? Budgets?
So as you guys know, I would like to establish a parks fund, ideally as early as the 2023 budget. I think that would be a great time to do it. I think that there is more support than ever before on the BOT for such a thing. And the question, of course, is what would be the revenue stream for such a fund? Well, there's an answer. And the answer to that question is the 5% additional marijuana sales tax that's going to be on the ballot in November. That was voted by the BOT to include language that designates it for parks.
That's awesome, and that's a town of Nederland sales.
Town of Nederland sales tax. Almost every town, and indeed every town in our general region, and almost every small town in Colorado levies this tax, takes up this option, except for Nederland.
Out of curiosity, do you have projections for what that?
$160,000 a year.
Fantastic.
And that's already approved to go on the ballot.
That will be on the ballot. So
Other things.
indeed, that will be on the ballot in the Boulder County coordinated election, and we cannot advocate for it as appointed officials. We cannot use town staff time to advocate for it, but as individuals, we are allowed to advocate for it in the community, just not in our position as PROSAB board members. So I am just informing you all that this is on the ballot, and that it is a possible revenue stream for parks in the future.
Yeah, what would we call it, just for noting down what we're discussing about it being on the ballot?
It is a marijuana sales tax
Okay.
at 5%.
So it would be specifically earmarked then?
It would be unspecifically earmarked.
Yeah.
How can we,
It would not be restricted necessarily
Yeah.
to parks,
Okay.
but
Could be.
the only designated area that it would fund on the ballot is parks, as well as other legal municipal services.
So on that line, on the ballot itself, will there be wording about what the intended use of?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will say parks, but it will also say and other things. And so that is a conversation that will need to be had on an annual basis during budget season. If this passes, the PROSAB would make a recommendation to the BOT and how they'd like to see that particular sales tax allocated.
Do we have to call it a tax?
It is a tax.
When do we have to call it?
On the ballot, we do. Tabor language is very, very precise. It's written,
Individual, you could call it.
Sure.
yeah, it is not written in a way that we would have written it if we could have written it ourselves.
But it sounds like it's common and like this is normally done and it's functional.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues is that we're doing it in the worst possible time for the industry. Because of the recent slump,
Right.
and so there's the marijuana industry.
Oh,
So
Which doesn't incentivize the marijuana industry.
really, we should have been levying this tax
Yeah.
for a long time, and the ball was dropped, and that is my opinion on it. But
let's pick up
Yeah.
that ball.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
so
you're just letting us know it's on the ballot.
just letting you know it's on the ballot.
Personally, we're able to advocate it, but
We
not.
can't,
But as a
As
board,
officials,
we
yeah.
can't go and say PROSAB recommends.
so no matter how responsible we may think it to be,
Exactly.
we can't use our official position to communicate that
No, we cannot.
hypothetically.
But you can, when it passes, you can buy lots of weed if you want to fund the town's park fund.
5%, we said.
Yeah.
Well, everyone wants their calculators at home, you know.
What's your sense of whether it will pass?
Mine,
Yeah, or the
Hasn't been-
BOTs?
I'm fairly,
You wouldn't put it on
cynical.
if you thought it was gonna definitely fail.
I mean,
Hey, I'm sorry, can people make sure to use your microphones when talking? It's kind of hard to follow conversation.
Yes.
yeah, so my sense is that there are many competing measures. And that will water down the number of taxes that people will pass, because I don't think people are going to go down the line and approve every single tax.
And I'm just realizing if you all look, the town hall posted the language of the 3 ballot initiatives related to tax that are going to be the ballot. So if you guys want more details, one is the sales tax related to police, one is the marijuana tax related to, I guess, this, read the whole thing, and then the final is an occupation tax. So that's posted on the town hall Facebook page.
So what's the,
A lot of
Kat, what was that last one?
hard for me.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
The last one is an occupation tax.
On short-term rentals.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
okay.
Isn't that?
Thanks for
isn't that
clarifying.
a
You broke
tax?
up for a second.
It's an occupational use tax. It
So-
doubles the current.
so Rick, what is the official number and letter of this initiative?
It is 2K,
2K. Easy to
I
remember.
believe, right, Eric? That's what it looks like on this posting.
I don't know them by heart, so I'll take your word for that one.
Well, I'm pretty sure. But look on the town's Facebook page 5 hours ago. They posted all 3.
Well, there's a great campaign in the works there for a WHY2K.
And you think this thing's not going to pass? You're too cynical.
Have fun with it, folks.
I mean, the
Go ahead.
it's anyway. Is there in this agenda item? Is this more of an FYI, or is there anything we need to do, or is this just kind of a heads up?
I think that there's nothing that we need to do, but it does provide more fodder for the argument of having a parks fund designated in the town budget, which
Yeah.
currently doesn't exist.
And that was my thinking of putting this on the agenda, especially because on January the 1st, 2023 is when the funds from the mid-rank and tennis start kicking over to the town. So it would be nice to know that those funds at least are getting funneled back into parks.
Yeah. So one of the arguments that will come up against, of course, is the notion of flexibility, right, with the budget. Some folks like flexibility with the budget because they have their own things that they want to get done, and they might not be parks related. I mean, if the budget has flexibility, then maybe those things will get done.
Then perhaps they too need a fund, and
Indeed.
perhaps they too need some initiative to fund their fund.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of funds. Not everybody is. They are cumbersome sometimes and quite frustrating and annoying, and sometimes things sit in those funds for a long time, and people say, oh, we don't have money for this emergency issue, but we have all this money in this fund that we can't get out.
Yeah.
But I do think that parks
Because I'm
is a large enough program.
nervous that I want us to be assured that we can keep rink tennis. The other thing that we've been.
And just fund the general operation. We have a parks manager now and people working for our system. We need to fund that system appropriately as governments. Yeah.
Even if it is a kind of sub-fund to public works, I would like to see it broken out.
Just some structure.
Yeah, because we're fielding complaints all the time about the state of the trails and the state of the parks and the state of the trash, and it would just be nice to be able to say, well, this is, this is going towards that, rather than like, well, we don't know, it might be.
And then it seems like when we're able to make recommendations to the board, like DOT, this is what we want to make it happen, and then there's the funding for the town staff to do it.
Plus, if we want to put up a gazebo or something, we don't have to go bothering the BOT every nickel and dime thing.
Well, we can also, it seems like we really should just be like recommending this is what we want done, and then have the town staff do it, like make sure there's funds to do it, and that's part of our real job. It's like make sure there's funds to do the things that, because we shouldn't have to be doing it all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's a more efficient way to.
Just by way of comparison, in 1997, the town of Breckenridge passed a 0.5% across the board sales tax to fund open space and trails.
Mhm.
That's over $2 million a year in annual open space and trails budget for the town of Breckenridge. So,
And that was a general sales tax.
That was a general sales tax.
Yeah.
So 160 grand
Well taken care of.
is a drop in the bucket compared to that,
But we should be like working towards something like that, where we actually have a budget to super do these things.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And
So-
but I think what Eric's talking about is like, there's two sort of orthogonal issues. One is getting this thing passed.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, every year convincing the BOT that the money raised from it should be used on purpose.
Right.
Versus for other purposes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any legal binding to the fact that in the ballot measure language, it says for parks?
If you look at the line right after, it says it's for parks, you'll see that it is legally binding that it is not only for parks.
I mean, a strong and
Right,
community activated
purpose is in there.
Yeah.
Parks Board can help hold a board of trustees accountable
Yeah.
also.
And referencing that ballot language on a regular basis in order to make that argument, yeah, exactly, will be useful. So it is meaningful that it's there, even though it's not binding.
Yeah. No, it will require us standing up as ever for the
And it would also clarify the role of this board,
which would be good.
which would be essentially to advise on how to allocate the parks budget each year.
Yeah.
And I think that would be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think maybe even once the Ned Rink money starts flowing in,
Mhm.
that maybe should be a standing part of the agenda of this meeting, is to say like, hey, let's get a report on
Yeah.
the cash flow.
Agreed.
Yep.
And what are we recommending and what is it being used for?
Well, exactly, like last meeting, we found out that 1,300 are being spent annually on the adverts in the newspaper.
The
For
Mount
the weed, yeah, for Mountaineer, for noxious weeds, when well, maybe we could otherwise distribute that money.
Right.
From the paperbacks.
If it's something that moves us like in the direction of more budget and bigger budgets to make stuff happen, it seems great.
we will have to regularly advocate for it, stand up for our department. Full stop. Assuming this measure passes.
All right, in the interest of hard stops.
Yeah.
Should we move along to other budget related
Yeah.
conversations?
Yeah, is there anything else budget we wanna talk about, or do you wanna, are you working on then parks budgety coming up other than that?
Other than that, I think
Do we need,
these are the main things.
do we need to do anything for the upcoming sessions?
I do think that checking the BOT agendas, I don't have a date on when
Yeah.
this is gonna be most relevant, probably. Honestly, it's gonna be most relevant after the election in November. That, the BOT meeting after the November election, will be a good time to come to the board and say, we hope that it's gonna be a parks fund.
Yeah.
If possible, it would be best if we could all show up. in
Yeah.
force.
Yeah, it really does help.
Yeah, and even make it an aim
Good idea.
in the packet, that I can present.
What date is that meeting? Let's put it on, as a note that that meeting is on that day.
It's a Tuesday after the first Tuesday in November. Well,
So
calendar to see
also
that.
notice the second Tuesday.
We wait on this.
Okay.
No, actually, it'll be it'd be the third Tuesday, I guess. It would be the 15th of November.
Every other.
Okay.
No, I think we should show up anyway because we're going to have revenue anyway through rink and tennis. So that already is an argument, but you know, that funding kind of needs to go back into rink and tennis. There are a lot of upgrades that need to be made there. There's a lot of kind of management issues that need to be solved, and those are going to cost money with rink and tennis. So.
Really don't want to drop the ball on that just after taking it over.
Right, exactly. So I think rink and tennis money, we can advocate for there being a parks fund that it goes into. I think that we will likely then recommend that it put back into rink and tennis for the most part.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? I don't think rink and tennis are in a position now where they can fund expansion projects, but rather keep themselves going.
Okay, November 15th.
It's on my calendar.
And there is money already, like, I guess it must be informally earmarked for parks that has come
Yeah.
from the parking that was done on Gershia a few years ago.
Yeah.
There's like 12 grand put aside from that.
This is all money that sits in the general fund
Yeah.
with an earmark on it, basically. And it's kind of an ad hoc way
Yeah.
of allocating money to parks. I think we should just formalize it.
Yeah.
And you'll take care of getting us on the agenda for that meeting?
Guess we will have to write a name for that.
Yeah.
It's in like either the meeting before or.
I'd say in our October meeting, it might be smart for us to vote on an aim that is an official PROSAB recommendation for how to move forward with parks funding. And then I can talk to the mayor and hopefully put it on the agenda.
Right, anything else budget? We'll keep on cranking with that. We'll probably talk a bit more about that and talk a little bit about the adopter bench. But I'll just go through what we've got. Trails master plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's phase.
I think the only thing we're waiting on here is, Macy sent out a doodle to try to figure out what day is best for us all to come and compare notes.
Okay.
I don't think that has been.
Yeah, it looks like Wednesday, November 2nd.
Oh, is it on the grounds?
I did not get the doodle. I
I
can.
didn't respond, but.
You didn't get it either, Pat?
No, I didn't get it either. I don't know if you can hear me.
You're a little bit breaky up there, Kat.
Oh, thing is, I didn't get it either.
Okay.
I have it on my calendar as Wednesday, November 2nd.
Indeed.
But I have notes, so I don't know if that's like I haven't done. I don't know. I don't have any notes.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's only relevant for folks who've done like Charvette's thing. So if you've never canvassed or been at an event where you've taken notes, then don't bother. Or I guess between now and then you could do that. There will be some stuff coming out of Enchanted Forest probably.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, we have to talk about that, but that's separate.
No, go ahead.
Should I?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, go for it,
Take
Kat.
it away.
So yeah, so I didn't hear back. I mean, well, I heard back from Jesse and Alex that they're not available, but I didn't hear back from anybody else about Enchanted Forest. And I know Brian and I aren't available. So that
I am available. So.
I'm sorry, I can't.
That's
CT, I am available to work at least a portion of the day at the event. So.
Right. So you're the only person. So that means that we should decide if it's worth it, I guess. And if it is, then we would just have you there for as long as you could be there. But you're the only person, as far as I know, that can do that.
I live really close by, and I think there would be a big benefit to it because I think a lot of the most concerned people with our outdoor spaces are likely to be there. So
If
Great.
So I think the best time, actually, sorry to interrupt you, Kat. I was gonna say, yeah, okay, hopefully you can hear me. I think the best time to do this would probably be in the later afternoon hours when the adult beverages are on sale. And you could,
Enchanted
yeah,
Forest.
you could set up your little booth right next to where people are waiting in line to buy beers.
Sure.
But Kat, did you have a time in mind, or do you think that would work?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can only hear like 10% of what's being said right now, so I have no idea what's happening. What I was gonna say is that CT, it sounds like you are willing to do a shift. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you just pick like the best 3 or 4 hours of this thing.
You can do that time.
I can do like, I'm good for 3.5 hours is what I'll sign up.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So I don't know. I've never been to one, so I would take whatever Brian says because he's been to them. I mean, I've never worked there for one.
Okay.
And just coordinate with Nikki because she said that her Brian, not our Brian, her Brian could probably set the tent up for you, and I suspect probably also.
Okay, I've got the posters, et cetera, and Post-it notes. I brought them with me today in case we needed them for some reason, but I can just bring those right from my house.
I think you'll also need, won't you need like the tent, they're like a tent or like a setup with like a
Yeah,
banner or something?
I don't think we have a banner, just the posters, but
Okay.
Parks Department does have the tent.
Yeah, so you'll need to get that set up.
Table.
Yeah, you'll need both.
I was thinking of bringing a digital display, and I have a sample of it here today, guys. I'm sorry, I can't share it. But just something people could actually doodle on if they wanted to, so we could get another kind of expression of what people are looking at.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
In addition to the notes
Yeah.
that we already got.
So CT, then if you're still thumbs up, then what I will do is I will connect you with the person at Wild Bear who's like in charge of all the partner setup or whatever. If you can just coordinate directly with Nikki / Brian, like on whoever over there can set the stuff up. Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll
That's
be in
amazing. You're much for doing like a huge chunk of time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you there.
I only have an infant strapped to my chest during most of
That's
the
right.
days.
We'll give
Oh,
a free pass. Yeah.
Free beer
mean,
for
infant strapped to your chest is the best way to get people to come up and talk to you. I think at Nevada.
It absolutely is.
I'll be wandering around wearing a hard hat apparently. So
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, thank you. I bet that either right after this call or tomorrow morning. Connect you with Chuck.
Sounds good.
So,
And yeah, sorry guys.
well,
Super
yeah,
awkward.
well, we
I
have,
know I'm
Kat,
going. I
Kat,
definitely.
can you hear us? Can you hear
Yes.
I thought you had responded about the special work session too, because you were wanting to know about the timing of it. You said 7 o'clock might be too late.
Well, I didn't know what that was. I just responded to the email asking if if it's possible to do a different time. But if that's the thing that I'm not coming to, then I'm there.
Yeah, if you can hear me, I think that's the thing that you wouldn't be coming to, so it's probably okay to leave.
November the 2nd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just trying to apologize there. It's really hard to hear. There's like feedback, and I think I for you guys. So my apologies. It's the technology.
Yeah, we're getting like every other word you say.
Yeah, I can barely hear you guys.
So weird.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, Brian, is there anything from your end on the trails?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, I went to, do you have more maps with you then? Steve?
I do.
Okay, because I went to town hall to pick up one and they don't have any. So, he said he was gonna print some out for Monday.
I grabbed them all from Nikki's office.
Sweet, yeah, I'll grab a couple, because I'm gonna set up for, a display at the library for the next few weeks.
I'll bring it.
Have like a little corner where people can fill out Post-its.
Great.
I'm gonna go to the food bank on Saturday. Is there a table I could get?
Yes,
Should I
definitely.
email Mickey?
Why don't we just, I'll just offer you one from our storage room.
Okay.
Up here.
Or, you know, there's a table.
Yeah, that
there.
would be.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna just abscond with furniture from this building.
Yeah, that's a good go for one of these. Okay, so on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll go to at least Saturday and try to go to another before the fall, before the gets cold. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I will let you know where to get a table from.
thank you. Yeah, Nicole knows I'm coming, so she's good with that.
I don't remember, did we have anyone sign up for Harvest Fest? Or are we not bothering?
Well, I don't know if we have a booth, but I'm gonna be there anyway for the Historical Society, so I could just put a map up.
The Historical Society is gonna have a booth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be really
Nice.
cool, like next door, we're gonna be sharing, we're gonna get space for this guy who does the historical tin types.
Mhm.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, it would be fine just to put. map up.
Yeah,
Chat.
dude, I can probably do an hour or something on that day, but, maybe I'll coordinate with you.
Yeah,
See if
so that's October
Like a
2nd.
tag team the booth.
I could help as well on the second.
Cool, yeah, well, I'll check in and see if we do have, getting it a little bit of extra space.
Is the second not next weekend?
It's 2 weekends. Still some of
Yeah.
September left.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Good. Of course.
You-
Yep.
You just let us know, Jesse.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome, because it's from like 10 till 2 those days, so, yeah, you can swing by for even an hour or 2 hours, that'd be awesome.
I think I could also swing by if not, it might be too many people now, but if like, so, you know, if it is helpful, happy to come by. I'd probably go to that thing anyway to wander around.
Having done it, I mean, CT's done it a lot, but I think an hour is a lot. So I think that if we can get 3 people to do it for an hour, that would be awesome.
Yeah, an hour is a lot, because it's busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people stop by to talk, so I could have done
Yeah.
a second person, because some people were waiting to talk to me, they got fed up and left.
Right. So Jesse, do you want me to take the action of like just amongst the 3 or 4 of us figuring out who wants to do what time slots?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, and I'll be there all day, but yeah, if you wanna, I don't know how much time I'll be able to do specifically for those.
Cool.
Sweet, thanks, guys. Okay, so CT's got the maps, gonna give those out, gonna share those, put them around.
We could even reuse some of the ones that have writing on them.
Yeah.
It's still sort of purpose, so yeah, take one home, experiment.
Sweet.
Ask your neighbors.
All right. Next, do we have anything else on Trails Master Plan for tonight? All right, we'll keeping on with that. We have just a quick update about the noxious weed pull, feedback from the weed pull that we did, Saturday, August the 27th. Alex was there, Kat was there, I was there, CT, you showed up, baby strapped to you.
Briefly.
Yeah.
He tolerated it all right.
I was there.
Yeah, it's just-
Yeah, you were there. So yeah, and we got a huge amount done.
Yeah.
We pull in, so.
I have an after picture.
Yay. Yeah, I took a
I heard you got the before picture.
Yeah. Kind of segues into the project that's going on down there, Resilient Communities, Shoreline Trails Restoration and Stewardship Project. I will open the floor.
The musical instruments down there, is that technically part of that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that looks great.
Hugely popular.
Yeah.
People really, really excited.
Yeah. Super exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my Debbie Downer things was that the guy who was the parks representative, who's super lovely and really awesome person. It was just a bit surprising that he didn't know that musical playground was being funded by the GoGo grant, and he hadn't heard about the GoGo grant or kind of the deadlines or anything about it. So, yeah, it just seems like a bit of a breakdown in communication.
Is that somebody who works for the Parks Department?
Yeah, Parks Department, he was the person who installed the musical playground.
Okay.
So, but he just
Do
didn't
you know if it
know.
was new or anything, like before I was?
This summer, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this summer, so. This is nuts.
It looks I think it looks awesome, and when I was down there with my husband, he and I had the same idea at the same time, that it was really sort of plaque or sign that said it had been installed by the town of Nederland and GoCo, and or at least so people, everyone that walked by would, oh, who did this? You know? So it'd be cool if there was like some sort of sign.
I do think that would be nice.
Where would we get that money from?
Well, there's money.
Because, yeah, I agree. And there should be within the budget too. So there was 6,000 going towards these interpretive signs. But there's also, so there was like 6,000 going towards the signs, and then there is also 3,000 budgeted for signs in general. So that should cover it. But I'm just not sure about what has been paid for yet and what has not been paid for. So I'm just confused. Yeah, about how much has been spent and how much has yet to be spent. And yeah, unfortunately, Nikki's not here, so I can't really give us updates on the timeline and kind of the budget and where it's at.
Yeah, there was that disturbing invoice of a bench that cost more than double what was budgeted for each bench. And
yes, I'm hoping all the benches have been paid for now.
so it's a little nerve-wracking that
Yeah.
they're going to be, what does that mean? They're going to be half the number of benches? Like, I don't know. I just saw the invoice and it was freakishly high.
Yeah, so we have budgeted like cost per unit for benches $880, and recently we got the current cost of benches is $1,700 including shipping. The shipping is $800 per bench.
Which begs the question, why are we shipping benches from Florida? But yeah, we don't have anyone to ask
So I
these
just-
questions to right now. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to know, has the bike rack been bought?
Right.
I mean, the benches have been bought, most of the benches and the picnic benches, it looks like they're down there. They've been down there for like 6 weeks now, but they're just not installed. Because the cement takes work to put it in. So I'm freaking out a bit, to be honest with you, about the timeline. I mean, here's the timeline that is still up on our website.
Mhm.
So if you go to the PROSAB website, it says that this project will be completed in December 2021. And that is what is up on the website. So anyone who goes to see that. Well, we're now in September 2022. We're nowhere close to being done. So.
Yeah, and this is another kind of aspect, I think, of PROSAB advocacy that kind of needs to happen, and I think it will be much easier to do once there is a separate budget item for parks. But Public Works shares a lot of staff across different departments, and that is because we're short-staffed across many departments.
Yeah.
However, sometimes it seems it might be beneficial to get some things done, even if that means other things are going to get done more slowly.
Yeah.
Because as it stands now, it seems like everything being half done is not a great solution. So that's something that I think we need to, as an advisory board, we need to get a little bit more information on how staff time is actually allocated.
Accountability towards the time.
Yeah.
Because during the last meeting, like I expressed my anxiety that I felt like I couldn't see the end in sight, and I was reassured that there was not much left to do and that, so during the parks manager, I kind of love her to bits. She's awesome, love you, Nikki. But she said that during the week of August 29th, the Parks Department would resume focus on Barker Meadows and install the benches, the trash cans, and the informational signage, and that would happen the last week of August. And it would start at Quartet Corner and then build out from there. And then, so it's just like, here we are mid-September,
And it hasn't happened.
and nothing's happened.
So do we need to just make a recommendation? What do we need to say, like, BOT, like, or, you know, we need the park staff to, we recommend and want to see the focus on this because this is what we're advocating for.
Yeah, because I'm nervous now because we
You
put
know?
all of our eggs in the basket of GoCo have to now they have to give us the third grant extension. This
Yeah.
will be grant extension number 3 that we've applied for.
Mhm.
And if they don't say yes, we've just lost $200,000
So-
and all of this work that I put in, and it's just demoralizing.
So like from a procedural standpoint, to make it like functional, what is the best thing that we can do? Obviously, we're not doing the work, right? So
Yeah.
what do we need to do to actually?
What's the work that needs to be done? We need to set some concrete, we need to move some benches.
Yeah, so the work that needs to be done is the water tap, the tap needs to be water so the irrigation can be laid. The parking lot needs to be finished. The signage needs to be installed. The trails need to be finished. The trees and plants need to be planted. The amenities need to be installed. So the benches and the picnic benches and the doggy waste receptacles, and the rocks.
Okay, so
So-
there's like a clear list of tasks that need to be
Yes.
accomplished, and then from,
And there's an order of thinking as well, right? So like
Right.
planting trees is
Yeah.
one thing, but if there's no irrigation, then we
That's
are
done.
losing those expensive
Yeah,
trees.
it's-
They won't get established and will die.
so from a standpoint of how we actually as an advisory board advise this and make it move forward, what would be the next step to like?
Because there's only so much we can do too, because like Nikki said, the holdup last time was that she was waiting on the streets department to tap the water.
So can we put like effectively pressure on that to happen so that this
Yeah.
goes through, so we don't lose it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, hey,
That has to be.
and so does that, how does that work in this case?
I mean, I think the best way to do it is in this meeting
Yeah,
with town staff. We need town staff to be here.
okay, but is there any pressure that we can put on BOT to then put on town staff?
Yeah,
Or
I
is
mean,
that-
BOT really doesn't micromanage
Yeah,
kind of the way that
That's
town
true.
staff
like,
go about how they do things, and I don't think we should start.
okay, yeah.
Um,
Not advocating for it,
yeah.
it's a bad way, just asking what is the most functional way to say, we want this to
Yeah.
happen, prioritize it, and let's make it happen.
Who
Can I make a suggestion?
who pick up a phone call on a weekday?
It's Emmett. We better talk to Emmett
Emmett, okay.
Pelletier.
Sorry, can I make a suggestion? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Kat.
So I think like, I know Miranda is not listening to this, but Miranda is the staff, is the people who are involved here. So my suggestion, would most likely, if there's a subsection or on the advisory board that wants to sort of figure out what the next steps are, is to communicate that with Nikki and Miranda directly, and then like ask them like be people and making a plan happen. But
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go to another board to get to them. I think I can talk to them directly.
No, so I have I've tentatively tried to set up a meeting with the GoCo grant committee, which was Nikki, Miranda, myself, and Ariel from Teens Inc. And then hopefully I will maybe rope Eric in as a BOT member, a little extra authority there. And then so that's set for October the 11th, though. That's the soonest kind of time that they've said that they could pull this meeting together.
Yeah, I think either way, it would be nice to maybe clear the agenda a bit, because this is a time-sensitive issue.
Yeah,
And so maybe take away some other updates of the agenda. And these meetings, I think is where these conversations really should happen, because it's also public.
yeah,
So if we could get the people who are in charge of the departments that need to work together
yeah,
to come to this room and tell us what their plan is,
yeah.
and we can make recommendations.
I mean, we're talking about a water hookup.
Yeah.
Burying some line, clearing some area is not, it's not impossible work
No,
No.
to
prioritize it.
prioritize it.
Yeah.
Get some people here to tap the water first thing.
Yeah.
then we can vary the lines.
And do we have all those services available, like, within the city? We're not bringing in
Yeah.
externals, so we just need to, do we basically just need to advise that this gets done ASAP?
Basically.
Okay.
Like, tell us what the order of things needs to be
And
and when it can be done by.
Yeah.
And then, we can, if they say, well, here's a problem,
Okay, how do we get that?
choose, do you want us to do this, or do you want us to do it this way?
Okay.
Then we can make,
They can start
our
varying the irrigation line right now. There's no plausible reason to not start doing that.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, the plausible reason, and this is what
Staff time.
Nikki here is that, yeah, there's opportunity costs. They also need to grade the roads,
Yeah.
they need to do all the other things.
exactly.
And I suspect that would be explanation for why they have.
That is exactly why, but this is because this is a grant and it has a deadline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
That's-
less than $200,000 per town.
Exactly.
Enormous.
Yeah.
funds.
But sometimes it does help, I think, for priorities to be realigned in formal settings, rather than in like an ad hoc manner where we're calling people up. So I do think
Yeah.
it'd be useful.
I do agree with that. I think that if we do approach this if we ask for the staff party to be at the next meeting or at a special meeting or what have you, I just would urge to like keep in mind that it's not like a easy, obvious solution, but it is because there are a lot of competing priorities and a lot of town departments. And just kind of lead with that, right? Like I want us to feel like yelling at them not doing something so much as recognizing that there's a ton of competing priorities and like how can we help, and here's what we also are urging to prioritize.
But then I have questions because at the last meeting too, then it was said that during this time between the last PROSAB meeting and this PROSAB meeting, there was a few days that the 20 Chinook students were scheduled to go and work on Barker Meadows, and they were supposed to work on plantings, but they couldn't work on plantings because the tap wasn't in, so that they were going to work on maybe putting the benches in and working on the trails instead. And I've gone down and I've looked and there's nothing has changed. So I'm just wondering what those 20 kids did that we've paid for with this grant. So, yeah,
I think in the interest of not like feeling like we're overwhelming town staff.
No, exactly.
But do you think that the right way to handle this is for Jesse just to have a conversation directly with Miranda or Nikki or someone about this?
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
that should result in a little report
Yeah,
to PROSAB.
Sure.
fine. But what I think would be a bad situation would be like a Spanish Inquisition kind of thing where we grill someone in this setting, but
Well, yeah, because last year I complained about something that I wasn't happy with that was happening with Public Works, and it was a really bad situation. And I ended up we had to go into mediation, and the Public Works manager threatened to resign, and it was just a really bad scene. So I would like to avoid that, but at the same time, I have to try and stay on track with this, because this was a big deal. So I really can't say
It seems
no.
like what we could do is just ask like, are there roadblocks and what's the expected timeline and what's the most accelerated timeline we can expect?
Yeah.
So, and also here's the constraints, because otherwise we lose the $200,000. Can this be prioritized in a way that doesn't happen?
Yeah, and and it could legitimately be that they could use some help prioritizing,
Right.
and we can help do that.
And we can help
That's our job
with
as an
roadblocks
advisory
and
board.
way.
for real.
Yeah.
And I think that they may not know at the like person on the ground level is that this money disappears if they don't do this stuff.
Yeah,
And I think that's worth reinforcing.
Yeah.
and I'm sure they'd like to get it all done, so we just help them move the roadblocks out of the way. What are they?
Yeah, because it's not just like the roadblock is not just one person or one thing. It's like this is being held up because of this, and then supply chain because of this, and then there's just.
Well, and the other thing to remember is we empower town staff by making formal recommendations to
Right.
them as an appointed board, right? We empower them to prioritize what we are recommending.
And that's.
When that doesn't happen, they need to prioritize themselves, and they're getting daily emails from folks who are, mad about road base washing down into their yard or whatever. I know that Emmett's getting pummeled right now in the Big Springs neighborhood because of all the thunderstorms that we've had. There's been so much road base that's washed into people's,
Right.
into
Yeah.
people's yards. Like, so he's working on fixing that. But if we empower him to prioritize putting the tap in, if we make a formal recommendation
Right.
in
Hey,
an
this is
appointed
the
board
priority I
setting.
have to take care of.
Yeah, he says, the town board says I gotta do this. that we got.
And that way,
Officially recommend that.
I think so.
That we ask town staff to prioritize putting the tap in, owing to the possibility of losing.
If that is the keystone thing, right, that's holding up the rest of it, then I think they need to come and tell us.
If you can put in the
You know.
tap, you can put in the irrigation,
Yeah.
put in the trees, and then
That's what it seems.
got it.
Yeah.
So the tap.
But it's good, I think, to have that conversation with town staff directly so that it's not filtered through, rumors and
Yeah.
different emails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to echo Brian's suggestion that it might make sense for either Jesse or someone to have an individual conversation, sort of figure out what the bigger, have some sort of one-on-one or two-on-one, and then we can talk to folks at the next. I think maybe sort of figuring some stuff out before we have the whole group go there. I think it'd probably be kinder and more efficient as well.
Yeah,
I agree, Kat, and that's scheduled for the 11th as it is, so that'll happen first regardless.
yeah, that's what I wanted to do, was just sit down with those individually and kind of just go over my concerns and see where we're at.
Okay, good. So that's on the books.
Yeah,
It's, all right, good.
but at that point, it is gonna be too late.
And that is pretty
Well-
common for now.
So,
It is what it is right now.
yeah,
That's the 11th of October?
yeah,
Because someone can't meet between now and then?
yeah, just
Yeah,
the next,
Could you just say that if we don't meet now, we might lose 200K?
Mhm.
I mean,
Is that known?
I guess I don't really understand, because most of this has been spent, what happens if it's spent and then we just don't achieve? So at the moment, all of the rest of all the projects that applied during the same round of us, they're all they're posting pictures of their finished projects now. Cause
Yeah.
I mean,
Honestly,
It's a little bit dysfunctional, that's.
it's,
I don't know the individual schedules, Jesse, but I would just be like we can't wait until October 11th. We have to meet this or early next. It's just not.
Yeah, next week.
yeah, cause it's gonna snow soon.
It's,
and then
and not to be vague about it, who are you meeting?
So it should be, I put the email out to Emmett
Mhm.
of streets, and then Nikki Parks manager,
Yeah.
and then the town admin, and to Eric and myself, and then Ariel, who was also, she's the team thing coordinator.
Yeah.
But I guess she's on maternity leave, right?
Okay.
But she was one of the GoCo committee members.
Because maybe it's the coordination of all those calendars, which is making it hard to get something sooner.
Yeah.
If we could narrow that audience down to,
Like,
And then it's-
critical players to
Yeah.
make.
And then
those
also,
things
I guess it's partially me too, because I will have to take time off work to do it,
right,
because they want to meet in the daytime, so I will have to take time off. I have to schedule my work around that.
Yeah, and things get lost very easily, right? You meet with one person who says, well, I need to follow up with this person and ask them a question, this person asks them a
Well,
question.
just
If they're
ask
not
the
there in the
question.
room, then.
Absolutely essential that this be installed by town staff. We're talking about a plumbing issue.
No,
Well-
that's what you were saying last time, that it could be contracted out, but then that has to come, the money has to come.
Well, I
from
think
somewhere
part of
to
it too,
contract
is just
that out.
we have the functional capabilities of town, let's just push it forward in a way that it gets functionally done.
If we can't have this meeting about getting this done by this date, then we see what the dollar price would be to get a plumber up here and get that tap in, so we can get those lines laid before the freeze.
Yeah,
How about that?
hopefully GoCo will just be like, yay, have another grant extension, next year's fine.
Jesse, ask
Another
the
issue to do it.
And then, I don't know, maybe move on from this pretty quickly, but I'll ask the question, I have a pretty flexible schedule. I can meet with them if they can meet during the daytime and you could be calling in or something.
Currently on paternity leave, so I've got some flexibility,
Yeah,
and it's a plumbing problem. It can be solved.
and I guess while we're talking about the whole area down there, I checked in, I wasn't able to go to the last DDA meeting, but I did check in with, I listened to their meeting, and it just unfortunately sounds like none of the discussion we had with the representative from the DDA got shared back with the DDA. So Gershio, they're still gonna move forward with exploring Gershio as a performance-based area, JVA.
Oh my God, no, they're just gonna waste our money on a JVA plan.
So, Yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah, the whole board kind of was weighing in on it, and they're not sold on the idea that that's the best location. So yeah, they think your is still on the table for that, and the spot is attractive and it's landscaped and it's not just a pit. And
Well, there's a reason for that.
yeah, so I guess
Because
I
we
wish I
wrote a
could-
grant to make it attractive and landscape and make it not just a pit.
Yeah, they're still worried about the floodplain in that area, and
Floodplain.
What's this word?
and they also said, oh, the space that is the designated performance space is not large enough, probably not large enough, and definitely not large enough for a farmer's market.
What?
I mean, have they seen the space where the farmer's
Yeah,
market
I
is
mean,
now?
the Park Meadow, it's bigger, it is bigger than Gertio.
Maybe they just need to get on the ground and actually experience it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like we put it to him plain,
Mhm.
if he took it back and that wasn't received. Sorry.
yeah, so I guess I should have just gone, I should have been there to answer the questions, but I wasn't expecting it to not get back.
Well, we need to keep an eye out for when this comes onto a BOT agenda then, because they're gonna have to ask us to approve the money for a JVA study.
Well, it will have to go through, I mean, I would expect it to go through the public planning process, and in which case, then they'll realise like what the community is interested in.
Yeah, but it's gonna come to the BOT first.
Yeah, and then you'll have a big town hall.
Right.
The big dramatic town hall.
Yeah. Because, you know, we do love drama.
Yeah.
But, yeah, please try to keep an eye out. I'll try to keep an eye out too for when that pops up on an agenda. And then come, if you can, to say something about it.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think they're going to move forward, yeah, just with the JVA's topographical study, and I think they have left Gertio as part of that study. Yeah, we just have to stay on it.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the update with that. We're doing good though, and our reading was so good. Our reading we did so good.
Just got it indexed to the positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, as an action item takeaway from that, can I follow up with you as far as seeing if I can be of help to move that meeting to an earlier date, potentially?
Yeah, that's
If that's something you're open to, I don't want to take it away.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah,
Happy to help.
just see, just to like throw it out there. 'Cause-
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and just so you know, my position on the BOT is gonna be, no money gets spent on any parks project by the DDA or anyone else without PROSAB's weighing in.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why we're here as an advisory.
Yeah.
Do a project in the parks. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have PROSAB stand, so they should be working us, looking for approval, not trying to go over our heads.
Yeah, and I was just confused because, I mean, the conversation was like, even back to like, we're going to talk about where the new restrooms are going to go, and it's like, this is all, we talked about this, that they're already plotted out with the city of Boulder, like this is already underway.
It's a done deal.
Yeah,
I bet we get those installed before they finish their study.
Yes.
Probably.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the races.
yeah, exactly. We're a couple of years.
Well, and the thing that you're gonna hear all the time from the DDA is this mythical notion of like ROI, which it's not real, right? They don't know what the ROI is. They'll never know. It's a public space. That is not the most important factor, right? Is
Oh, as far as.
return
Yeah.
on the investment. Like,
Yeah.
they have a dream that they are all really swashbuckling, competent business people that will, monetize the town for its benefit and theirs. That mentality, I don't think, actually works when we're talking about offering public services.
Very concise. All right.
Park program.
Yeah, benches. So, do you have time to look at the language? Because I reviewed it and I feel pretty good about the language.
Jesse, I sent edits to Nikki. Did she ever relay those to you?
No.
Can I send them directly
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, sorry. I was told to send them to her, but she never answered.
It seems like that's the most functional your wheelhouse anyways, yeah.
What is
Like
legal
legal.
benches?
Well, no.
Legal.
I'm not putting you in that, pigeonholing you into benches, you know, but like the legal
Language.
discussion. to the
Yeah,
language.
yeah, I'm happy to review language. I mean, others can review language as well.
I looked and I felt pretty comfortable, like also, you know, you have a bit of a much better idea in terms of just like, oh, little things, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Where's the most recent version?
I sent it, I just found it in my email.
Yeah, it was the thing you sent like a few days ago, right? No.
Send it for the July meeting.
Yeah, July 19th.
Yeah, it was attached to the agenda.
Oh yeah.
And it,
And is that
yeah, go
is
ahead.
that
Oh, you're cutting out, Kat.
oh, is that the latest version?
Yes.
Ah. Thank you.
I'm forwarding you my edits now, Jesse, but not copying anyone else.
Okay. You can copy, just as long as we don't reply to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
so we could all see that.
perfect.
Yeah, I would have to.
So, I mean, like, one of the kind of the things that I see in it is like the cost of a new bench with included plaque is subject to current market price and fee schedule. So stuff like that, which includes shipping and handling, installation. Town staff have predetermined appropriate locations. But this is the fees. The fees that we had, donation for a plaque, $500, lower cost, one plaque, but bunch of plaques on one bench would be $250. There are currently 2 benches designated for multiple memorials, one at Chipeta Park, one at Barker Park, which is just a hypothetical. At this point.
Definitely not the stone benches.
No. But we do have a person interested at the moment in, and they have been, they were interested before all this discussion. So I feel like they should be grandfathered in. I think we talked about this. They were interested in getting a plaque put up at Barker Meadows. And they've just got back to me now saying, you know, what's going on with this? I was like, well, what is going on with this? So they're just looking for, I mean, I think all PROSAB does is somebody comes to PROSAB, they say, can we get a plaque? We say, yes. And then we send it to town staff.
Yeah.
But the language doesn't say it's referred to PROSAB.
No, I don't even think it necessarily is. I think town staff wanted that just to make that thing in town, like the last time we talked about this in depth, the town staff just wanted to handle this and not have it go through PROSAB at all.
Which kind of makes sense, like, it seems like we're just stopping, slowing the process down.
Yeah.
Why would we need to be involved in approving
Right,
if they've already got the.
because we already know which there's already a list of
That
benches
feels
that
a
are
little
available.
dysfunctional, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, if it's a town staff should be able to approve a bench, yeah.
Yeah.
you know, a bench. They know what they need, they have a
Administratively, they
plan.
should be able to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm realizing is like, how do we function as the most functional?
So like, should there be, like, I guess
That,
there should
what
be,
our real role is to do that well.
there should be a web page where people can go and just fill out an application and send that to town. That should go to town staff, like the verbiage
So
Yeah.
of
we
what they
need
want on their
to
plaque.
make
That
a
just goes to town staff.
recommendation. So- Sorry, I was not that close to the mic. Do we need to make a recommendation that that gets added to the website, basically?
Yeah, I think so. I think.
And then
let's
that can be taken care of?
Maybe we could vote on that now and just have that added to the PROSAB website.
And then that's like an action step that gets done and then it's more functional.
Yeah,
Sure. So would I motion to vote that we add a form?
Yeah, I think it's in the last bullet point that
Okay.
the form could be referenced.
Team of staff members review, yeah.
That staff will provide an application form and a team of staff members will review it
Okay, so
administratively.
then do we need to vote on it or no?
So,
I don't think so.
We'll just make a recommendation and.
Unless
Sort of informal note of for,
Yeah, unless there are objections.
No
I
objection.
see lots of notes.
Yeah, I mean, my main concern is the price, which I still think is too low.
500.
Yeah, I just think that's too low. I mean, I would like to see it, both of those prices doubled personally.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but
Oh
Like,
man,
it's
that's
2,500.
did not go down.
here's the question, because I completely agree with you. But like the whole rigmarole that brought the bench program down
kind
to
of
begin with
ridiculous.
was right sizing for the needs of disadvantaged folks in town. And I think we've addressed that, and it might not be a perfect solution, but we have a solution and it should move forward with it as soon as possible.
And I'll ask a quick question. Can we like?
Yeah.
Revisit the fee schedule in the future if we want and advise a change? Yeah. Like, so let's just maybe just go for.
So this is just for, this would be for 2023.
Yeah.
Doesn't it say it will be raised commensurate with like CPI or something like that in here?
Oh, good point.
So it's just for the initial and then we can raise it
Yeah.
with inflation.
Well, it's a great opportunity to point that out to one and all, you know? Here's the current fee schedule for benches in town, it will go up.
Get them while they're.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, maybe even in that language that we have, we could put in parentheses that,
Alex, I'm not seeing any email from you.
Like revisit the fee schedule each year.
that rates will be set by the Board of Trustees each year.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, the other thing that I'm not too worried about is that, like, they still need to be approved.
Yeah.
So they're cheap, but it doesn't mean that like one really rich person is gonna buy 300 benches and then sell them off at $600 a piece.
That's true.
Yeah.
That would be the, maybe not the most evil thing I've heard, but like the amount of effort one would have to spend
So,
to chisel the Parks Department out of like $100 a bench would be.
I agree,
impressive.
and that's.
I was
that's
originally
how
going to
much-
buy all the benches if this didn't go through
You're
until we
one
took.
Parks Board that's making corruption.
No, before this happened, I was going to buy them all.
Uh-huh.
Before we said that
Mhm.
the
It was like 50
previous
bucks.
Yeah,
I was going to buy everyone and then just say, look how ridiculous this is.
that would have been a ball
But
of.
we made the motion and voted.
We would have made an article in the Mountaineer with
I was going to do that, but
The,
thanks.
Get different
thanks,
posts
we just-
possibly on that one.
We just said,
I got it,
it
Alex.
was,
okay.
Sorry.
So, Alex, were any of those edits that you said like substantive changes to the intent, or were they
No,
mostly just?
they were just for clarity.
So how about this? Shall I send just these clarifying edits out, but tentatively? Do we need to, can we vote on this now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because it looks like just clarifying language. There's nothing, yeah, nothing.
Alex, thank you for those. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
With the addition of language suggesting an application form in the last bullet point,
Yeah.
as well as a kind of reference to the fact that the rate will be set annually by the Board of
So
Trustees.
yeah, her language clarifications has things like if a donor provided bench dedication plaques lost or stolen, the donor is responsible for the cost of replacement if desired. On an annual basis, amounts are adjusted on an annual basis for the most up-to-date fee schedule, consult,
Mhm.
da, da, da.
Great.
Yeah,
yeah.
after expiration of the donation period, the dedicated bench will be available for renewal, so, yeah, specific numbers.
It's based off our discussion at the July meeting.
Yeah.
I took notes and I incorporated things that we as a board discussed. So,
Great, so we're ready to send this to the BOT? Take it back again?
Well, we've got to get it
Yeah.
on the fee schedule for this year,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
got to bring it during budget season.
So I'll send the updated one out with edits really soon, and then just if there are any extra edits, we can do that real quick. But otherwise, we could get it to the BOT next week.
Mhm.
I guess the next meeting's already next Tuesday, so we don't want.
Yeah, and the only thing, as I understand it, I mean, Miranda might correct me, but as I understand it, the only thing we need to do as a BOT is set the rates. We don't need to approve this whole policy document necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, PROSAB can recommend that this be the way that town staff implement the Adopt a Bench program.
Yeah,
and then town staff will just do that. What the BOT needs to approve is the rate schedule. So it's that 500 and 250.
yeah.
That's the pitch to the BOT, not the whole policy document.
Does this need to be sent out as a formal aim?
Yes.
Okay. Are you good at crafting those?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
It seems prudent because the reality is that recently adopted bench or whatever in Chipeta Park is like with the big wood plaque, it's
Yeah.
like not very comfortable
No,
for sitting.
no,
It's
it's
actually kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like makes the bench non-functional.
It does
It
make the
does.
bench non-functional.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's it, if you bank against it.
yeah, it's pretty dumb.
It's been a saga. It's been a saga.
And then, yeah, just to have a web page where people can go, just click on it, get the information, and then apply directly to town staff. Great. We're all okay with that. Awesome. Doing things. We're advising. That's all we can do.
I also think that for that aim, Sam, did you put together comp prices last time on how much benches cost in different towns?
I did, yeah.
You
yeah.
can
I can
send
find
my
it.
way again.
Yeah, I'll grab
Um,
it.
because I mean, I know they're gonna ask, well, what do other towns?
Yeah, what's comparable?
And then if it doesn't match what they want it to be, they'll just say, well, we're not other towns, we're Nederland. But you know, like, what can you do?
That's why you change, this is very good. This is a very reasonable,
It's very reasonable.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's a steal.
yeah.
Within the realm of reason.
Well, you know, the point is for it to benefit.
Yeah.
The town of Nederland Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And I question how much $500 does benefit town of Nederland Parks and Rec with a limited number of assets.
Yeah.
It's just
Establishes
expenses.
the precedent.
Yes,
of Raising money.
exactly. We at least lay the groundwork
It
here.
would buy half a tree.
Yeah, exactly. It buys you half a tree. Sort of like,
I hate you.
Should we move on?
Yeah, moving on. Sam, I'll just
order of a bench, apparently.
Eric, I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
look at a concrete
Great.
slab of wood.
Kind of little updates, not a whole lot. It's kind of,
Yeah.
you know, I hate to say it's a saga. It's not a saga. It's
It's just a kidney.
just the beginning. And so some thoughts I'll share where we're at, what we've been doing. Basically, I've been working heavily with Jesse Sievers because on the discussion we had 1 or 2 meetings ago, Eric recommended, hey, look into how the skate park was funded. Because we had this whole interest in bringing in an outside group to build the most amazing way so that it gave a recreational opportunity for kids in the area to like, and adults to like compete in an actual like sanctioned pump track course that they could then take those skills and know they're riding a like professional track that's suitable for young kids and, you know, basically a professional pump track event as well. And then it also opens up the opportunity to host those events in Nederland if we use this particular company that's used like in Boulder and all the, basically the majority of the surrounding pump tracks. And so we thought that seems like a great, smarter, long-term approach. And so, of course, that costs a lot more money than just moving some dirt around. And it's, you know, they know how to build them to where they last and they work with the environment. So we had met with them, and I think I mentioned that in the last meeting. And, you know, they said, oh, okay, well, it's basically $7,000 to $9,000 for us to like put the whole proposal together to where you can visualize it and then go, you know, you have something to raise money with a little bit easier. And so Jesse Sievers and I are like, well, we'll raise the money and we'll go ahead and like, we can go down that path. But the main question, and I'm not exactly sure how to propose this, so I'll just ask the question, is like, we want to be assured that if we go down that path of like raising money for the initial component of it, that the, like, whatever is the best, most sustainable design that this company comes up with, that we're fairly assured that everybody's good to move forward on this type of project. That we get the like approval from PROSAB and BOT, so that when we go and raise, you know, $7,000 or $9,000 and potentially even put some of our own money into it, to make that happen, just like to accelerate it, then that we're not like, that was just a waste, you know? And then we'd go raise the however many, whatever is required. And then bring that, so it wouldn't be like, we're not asking with this project, it's like, well, everybody's fighting for money from the general fund, we'll just go raise money and bring it and say, here's the money, we've got it, we can do it, this company can do it, it's done professionally. Seems like a good approach.
No.
Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and then there's another aspect of bike parks here that I have, but that's like, start with that one. And it seems like land-wise, Nikki's fine with it, it all works, it's kind of, everything around bikes is in the envision document already of like, we want this kind of thing. It's not specific language for a pump track. And I was like, Nikki, where's the language? And she's like, it basically is like a bike infrastructure. That's one of the things. So thoughts on how, I mean, obviously we can figure out that aspect, but the question is, if we go down that path, is it going to be a waste of time,
Right.
And at this point, Jesse Seaver's like, I don't really want to invest in something that's not going to be like a long-term sustainable thing, because I don't have the confidence at this moment, and I think it's warranted, that the town's going to maintain it.
So, I mean, I know that like location wise,
Yeah.
I think everyone is on board with the location,
That's what it seemed like. It seemed like no issue.
but I don't think everyone's necessarily on board with the material, the chosen
Like what
materials.
materials may end
Yeah.
up as. Yeah. So that's, I think, the thing to like figure out. And so we were kind of like, okay, well, if we use this, if we go down the path of like working with this company that builds these, then, what's their plan for the most sustainable thing? And I guess that's.
So I guess it's like, then you have to, what is your definition of
Yeah, what's the definition of sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So,
like, is it what's best for the environment, or are you talking about what's sustainable?
well, there's both, I
Right,
think.
but sometimes they go together.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
And the goal is that they go together as best they can, and that, there's just like limited maintenance on it so that it actually lasts and is functional. So
Yeah.
that's the thing I think for me to like get some clarity on. I feel like I can get some more clarity on that before we go and say like, here's $7,000. Can you give us a plan that we can then show everybody?
Did you say 7,000?
Yeah, that's just there.
You said 79.
Oh, no, 729,
Seven.
depending on the scope of the project, $729,000. And I think that money should just be raised. Like, there's such a big bike community that can be done. And that way we don't have to pull it from other budgets that need to be allocated. What I feel like in ways that like, you're not going to get someone to be like, or it's harder to raise money for other things that we need to put money towards. Whereas like a bike project like this should be pretty easy to raise money for this. And I've raised money before, so I don't have a problem like doing that.
So one thing that would be really helpful, and I don't know
Yeah.
if they'll do
So I'm
this.
kind of asking you guys, what do you
Yeah,
think?
so the plan that they would provide for that is 7,000 to 9,000.
Yeah,
That would be like a fully fleshed out.
totally fleshed out, exactly. The only
Engineered
difference is that
drawings,
final
yeah.
tweaks of, the shape of the curve.
Sure, yeah.
They do when they're on the ground. But after that, it's like, it's really cool because they bring, and they go, here's what it looks like in your landscape so that when everybody's seeing it, it helps raise funds. It's like, wow, you can really visualize it and get excited about it. You can see. But it's like the smaller kids area.
Yeah.
This is for like, people really riding the bigger pump track, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Will they do like an initial concept drawing on spec?
I'll ask them. I don't know if they will.
Like, with, no measurements or anything, no like full visualizations,
Totally.
just like, can you show us something that we can use,
Yeah.
as a basis for conversation
I'll ask them.
with the
I'm
community?
not sure, but I'll ask. And it seems like that'd be great,
Because I think it's kind of impossible to commit
Right. Yeah, I agree.
to something that is in front of us.
I feel like we could get a discussion at least close enough to where they're like, these are the materials we would most likely recommend, but then like, we're not going to put an engineering plan together.
But even like a
Yeah.
concept sketch,
Yeah.
that was just like a pretty sketch.
And I
that,
mean,
like said,
quite frankly,
this
if I
kind of
could find somebody
material.
to do that,
this kind of-
or
Right,
just
exactly.
kind of overlay some stuff
But that was
that's a good
fairly
idea.
accurate to their style and like the way that
Yeah.
they do it.
Cool. I like that.
Because I mean, during our conversation, so some of the concerns that have been brought up is going to be water runoff from any like potential materials into the creek, which is super close, and
Yeah.
then like heat considerations, and then
Yeah, and
for
specifically
maintenance
like
after.
contributing back to the atmosphere from a
Yeah,
heating perspective, right?
and then
I bet like we
for
could just map
maintenance.
out the square footage on our own
Yeah.
close enough that would be like, here's what the actual contribution would be.
Yeah.
So we're all aware, and then can make like an informed decision of, is it worth that small trade-off? And can we use like materials in a way that are
Yeah.
less, heating? Maybe they just have a lower percentage of reflectivity or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what's the best we can do with the most long-term sustainable materials in the form of materials that last the longest with the least maintenance.
Because I also personally don't want to see us build a dirt pit.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And that's the concern is like, hey, here's a dirt pit.
Right.
Or here's a cool track. It's really good. It's maintained for 3 years by Jesse Severs. And then there's no plan or leadership fell apart or whatever. And we've seen things not be prioritized and stuff like that. So I think it's unfortunate, but it is like the,
Maintenance is big.
yeah,
Does
it's
it
a
come
big
with
deal.
Maintenance contract or service contract for X number of years?
What's that?
Does it come with like a maintenance
It doesn't,
contract?
that's the thing. So like, the way they build them is they try and make it so that once it's built, you're able to maintain it for like basic infrastructure.
Yeah.
Or you have
Yeah,
like,
regular people.
or if you have like a private piece of land, then you're maintaining, like, the dirt tracks get to a point where they take nearly daily maintenance.
Yeah.
To really make them awesome, and that's why the private places work, and they're paying for entry. Or like something like the Valmont where that's a fully staffed situation. And I know the work it takes, because I actually know somebody who worked on that bike farm. And they're like, oh yeah, we're watering it every day, we're moving dirt around every day. I'm like, whoa, that's not gonna happen, like just knowing what you're getting paid alone, like that's, from what I'm seeing, that's not a budgetary expectation that we're currently planned for.
Yeah.
So it's like, it seems like it makes sense to do the thing that doesn't take lots of maintenance, the thing that takes like the occasional little asphalt laying down,
Yeah.
every 3 years.
Because that's just like what's been going on with the skate park is such an issue.
Right.
Because it's not like normal people can't repair it. Like it has to be.
Yeah,
serviced.
and this kind of bills they do, like, they make it possible for that, which is great.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be relied on like a volunteer situation, because like that's only as strong as the people around, and it doesn't have a longevity component. And you know what I mean?
Well, that's also why rink and tennis struggled.
Right,
And
and we've
why
seen
they're
that
restored back
historically,
into
like,
town.
and it may just be like simply we don't have the population to have the volunteer for that kind of stuff, Whereas if we're much larger, maybe we would, but just dealing with like the realities that we've seen, makes sense to like do it in my opinion, it seems like it makes sense to do it in the way that requires the least maintenance. So that's the approach.
So can I? ask you a
Absolutely,
question?
yeah, like it's all open on the.
About the raising the money part.
Yeah.
So are you thinking that there would be some kind of nonprofit entity that would raise the money and then hand that money over to the people that are building it on town land?
Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm figuring out the nuances,
Yeah.
But Eric was saying like, look at what was done with the skate park, and it seemed like that model worked well to give money to make a project happen. And so that model seems like, oh, maybe we just go that model. And I'm open to like whatever the smartest, most sensible model is for that. But yeah, happy to.
It's also the way that Ned Rink and tennis are going to continue their relationship. with
Okay.
town. So those nonprofits will continue to exist. They'll act mostly as an advisory board to the town as well as a fundraising
Right.
board.
That was gonna be one of my questions. Like, so their boards are continuing.
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Phew.
I mean, that's up to them though, right? Like the town can't mandate that. I mean, they're a separate.
I mean, like.
corporation,
to
right?
encourage
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I mean, I have as much as I know how to. I mean, obviously town cannot give them a budget. The whole point of them existing is to raise funds for the entity that they have an interest in, right? So the town giving them a budget would be completely backwards
Yeah.
in terms of the relationship.
Totally, yeah.
But this is also something to look into, is that this is also very commonly done with police departments, right? So local community nonprofits will raise funds for police departments and then buy cops bulletproof vests or something. right?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
And so that's the transfer of 501c3's funds to municipal.
The way I see it, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, oh, if this is a functional way to make it happen, then sure,
Yeah.
whatever. It's just
And it might be
that's my goal.
I think it's probably the best way. I mean, we
With being
could
the
use a nonprofit that already exists if like NATO, for instance.
Oh, and raise it to.
Was
that.
interested.
Oh, that's good, interesting idea.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest something similar, or even teaming up with Netscape. I don't think they really exist so much, but,
No, I don't think they do
but then
anymore.
it's gonna,
That's a clever idea.
it's gonna save you lots of
Yeah.
days and be a corporation and
Yeah.
getting bored
check
and
it out.
Yeah.
talking to lawyers and all that kind of stuff.
I got some good advisors, so I can make that stuff happen pretty quick, thankfully.
Yeah, I'll check it out, yeah.
I've set up businesses and stuff before, so it's like not so crazy to me.
Okay.
It's like sort of like ours routine, you know, if I do that.
I've incorporated 2 501c3s and a 501c4.
Yeah,
It's a pain in the ass.
yeah, I haven't done that, so like I'm sure it's different. But all I'm saying is I'm willing to do those things if that's what is a functional way to raise money and then make it, you know, happen towards that. Because ultimately my goal is being on board is like make cool stuff happen that makes sense for the town.
But I do think if there's already a 501c3.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I'm super open to that. So I'll actually, and it also has some established like trust within the community, which is a big deal. You know, versus like, what's Sam and Jesse doing? Like, oh, NATO, and then we just run a campaign with them potentially. So I'll chat with. You said chat with Ned Skate.
I don't
Or
think,
whoever.
I think NATO is your best bet.
I think so too. And those guys are on board with having Vela Solutions, which is the name of the company, do this. Or the majority of them. Like I've chatted with a few folks and they're like, oh yeah, that's stuff we'd like to see, like, a really sustainable track. I'd be excited about that.
That's cool. I think my only concern,
Yeah.
if that hadn't been to go down, was the idea of raising money without knowing exactly how that money was gonna be spent afterward. I thought that could get you into some danger zone with folks who are disappointed by what didn't eventuate from there.
Oh yeah,
But as long as, if the money ends up in a nonprofit bank account. and
that's how it would be, yeah.
Then I think you can earmark it accordingly and cross fingers that the project goes through, but if it doesn't,
You give back.
you give it back, maybe, but also NATO could probably do lots of stuff with.
That's a good point.
$79,000.
Yeah, well, and that's like the starting point of it, you know, to do the
Feasibility.
feasibility and like the full plan, and then here's what it takes, and
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah, what I just want to make super, super clear
yeah,
is that there is, I wish there was a way, but there really is no way to guarantee that that $7,000 to $9,000
yeah.
won't be wasted.
Uh,
There's
well,
no way to
that's okay.
guarantee it. We can,
Worth asking, you
you
know.
know, I think that the best way that you guys can guarantee it is, or not guarantee it, but,
Yeah.
you know, give yourself the highest percentage chance is to get, you know, basically conditional approval with a concept plan.
Yeah, like if as
advance.
close as we can get to that conceptual state without the full thing,
Right.
then that gives everybody like the here's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Are we cool with this? Great, we're gonna go through with like the engineering component of it.
And even if you convince this board, a majority of this board, to go with the
Right.
plan, you still got to convince the BOT.
Right,
So,
yeah. So,
and the BOT changes a lot, as everyone, I think, is now fully aware of.
yeah,
So, you know, the idea that people now are into it,
of course.
could change.
And if, I understand that. And so I figured I'd ask if there's any sort of mechanism for that. And I think the idea here, and I'll wrap this up, is that, you know, one of the big things we have going for us in this community for development is like recreational opportunities, both in the mountains and the trails. And then naturally that translates to things like pump tracks and stuff like that, that allows, you know, kids to come out of here and be like, oh, I raced the pump track circuit because we had this at, you know, in Nederland. Like, that'd be pretty cool.
And so if that $9,000 plan, whatever. that
Yeah.
ends up being, if
Just go with a higher number.
we get to the point where that is being approved,
Yeah,
that is when I would highly recommend that whatever organization you're working through
yeah.
talks to their lawyer and asks the town to sign into a
Okay,
time-limited agreement,
gotcha.
right, that guarantees that the
Right.
town will allow this to be built in the next 10
5
years or
10 years,
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? And that way you have some security in your fundraising.
That's a good
You
idea.
say, look, the town is.
And it is also important from a fundraising perspective for people to be like, hey, is it gonna happen if we, you know, if we fund it?
Yeah, but my suspicion is it might be hard to get the town to enter that agreement until the plan is
That
fully
makes
fleshed out.
Alright, well, I like that. Thank you for the feedback. And then the other aspect of this, and maybe it's a little bit bigger conversation, but Jesse Sievers is still willing to donate $25,000 in sort of features and trails outside of the pump track at this point, and is just really motivated and wants to see that. He's excited about bike infrastructure, and I was thinking about it, and of course my point of view is biased because I'm excited about this stuff too. So I recognize that. But if someone comes to the table and says, "Hey, in any given town, I have $25,000 that I'm willing to donate in time and money and equipment and people to make this stuff happen," it seems like you'd want to take that opportunity. Yep, if it's possible. And so what that would require is finding land that could be designated to build that stuff on. And I asked Nikki her thoughts on that, and she felt like just letters from the community showing that support would make it easier for that. And I agree. So as this has like become two just separate projects, basically, is how I'll describe the pump track and then like bike features and stuff like that. I think I could go down the path of just getting community letters to ensure that that support is legitimate and not just a pet project, by one or two people.
And
Because I think that's the concern, right?
I also talked to Jesse about it, and
Yeah.
and I do highly recommend a formal proposal
Yeah,
that maybe identifies at least two potential locations.
yeah,
Rather than just saying it's this or nothing, like this
Yeah,
one is
yeah.
or nothing, because community usually goes nuts when you do that.
yeah,
So at least two potential kind of locations in a kind of formal proposal, like this is what I'm
Yeah.
willing to donate. And he said he would do that,
cool.
the formal proposal, but
Okay.
I really recommend that you include in that proposal, walking trails.
Sure. And I think those get made like naturally as part of it. So if they're just included, because you have anything that's
But to make that really explicit, like,
that you get walking trails.
yeah.
That's all I got. I don't want to take.
I would say just like,
Oh, yeah.
try and include stakeholders that are not just the biking community, try and include stakeholders like the schools or teams
Oh, yeah, that's-
or anyone
yeah.
that, because otherwise it just looks very weighted.
It does.
And
It's,
you guys
that's
have to
what-
talk to neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we were like weighing in with Nikki, what's your feelings on different spots, because you have these relationships of understanding already. Where are spots where it's easy, and I feel like we went down that path of looking at a few and getting close and then be like, oh, that was actually not quite as ready as it was made out to be
Yeah.
initially, and so it's like, okay. So, that's where we're at.
What do you think, CT? I can see your cogs turning.
I was thinking about something else. When you mentioned footpaths, it got me thinking about the trails master plan. I
Right,
apologize, I drifted.
but that is, as I was saying to Jesse as well, like, in this trails master planning process, if you can show how this will contribute
That's a good
to that,
point.
I mean, that would be huge,
Yeah.
right? So if we're gonna get bike trails, and maybe a lot of people don't care about bike trails, but as a result of that, there's gonna be this connector that's gonna be
Totally, yeah.
built, that
Yeah.
people can walk on, and like that could really
Yeah.
change the game.
Okay, cool. I guess my takeaway so far with that is like, I'm definitely not demoralized. It's a process. And so we're going through and, kind of went through one iteration and it was like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to revisit this. And so we'll revisit in different iterations. That's all.
So what do you think your next steps are?
So next steps I would say is figuring out from Bella Solutions, how close we can get to like kind of a concept sketch between them and us of finished materials, I think is a big sticking point for the community.
Yeah.
That they'd recommend for the most long-term, like sustainable in its maintenance component and sustainable in its environmental component. Two different things for sure. And plastic is sustainable in a long-term way, but it's not environmentally sustainable, as an example. Like it sticks around a long time. So recognizing that and getting as close as we can to that, and then trying to get a visual sketch of some kind that like really represents what it would look like, because I think that's the biggest thing you want to know, is what it would seem more of a valuable piece. And then once we get there, then establishing the routes for the fundraising, at that point. And then as far as the other aspect of the plans, like just features that are dirt-based features that Jesse can build for us, I think establishing, it's hard because we haven't been able to like pick a spot. It feels like they're kind of moving like, oh, no, that one, no, that one. I say, okay. So maybe actually just letters of support for start that we'd like to see this kind of thing. Okay, great. Then from there, let's identify, and then once we identify the spot, how that can contribute to the Trails Master Plan, maybe some connectors or something that are involved, or also there's walking trails that get, built as a part of this as a path. So a couple action steps.
Cool.
And I'm always open to like feedback and questions and kind of just trying to get to the point of where we're at, details we can actually talk about things with people in detail versus things,
Yep. Well, yeah, the more that we can have, fully articulated plans on paper,
Yeah,
the better. Because if they're on paper, then it's a document we can put on the town website and say,
yeah,
PROSAB voted to, in favor to recommend we pursue this project. What does the community think? And they can
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
look at something. And rather than like it being, you trying to describe it.
yeah, that just doesn't, it's like, I think we need to get past that
Yeah.
stage. I'm just trying to describe it.
Do you have a couple of different locations in mind?
I know, yeah, I mean, I've got some of the ones that we had looked at
That would be
previously.
good just to have that, just to go
Yeah.
over like which ones you've looked at and the reason it behind them.
Yeah, I'll do that, because there was one of them that seemed like a great option, but then it's not in the town hands technically yet, that donated one. And so we went and looked at it. Originally, I thought, oh, this is an option.
Oh, the Wingate property.
Yeah, because we went and were like, Nikki was like, oh, let's go over here, and not putting her under the bus or anything. She just thought too, and then she learned, oh, it's not actually like in our hands yet. We can't fully utilize it in this way yet. And so it's like, oh, well, we don't know if then it's going to be an option. So it's like, well, let's go back to the drawing board, So like, what's an easy location that's not getting any use and is just kind of dejected land that is hard to functionally use outside of
Yeah,
this?
newer town acquisitions are going to be harder
Yeah.
to convince people of.
Exactly.
Older things that have been in the
It's
same
like, what's
state.
been like
for-
in the
Yeah.
same state, not getting much use?
I mean, around the Caribou Room there's a lot of town open space.
I know.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about it, actually. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
As a good spot or not as a good spot?
As a good spot, because while it may not be outwardly visible, there's a huge amount of traffic.
Yeah, and it's right by the schools and all the bike, like these.
Like,
bike
it
trails.
seems like it makes a lot of sense
So
that
it'd be a
way.
direct connection between the school
Yeah.
near Joe Smith and the existing trail system that's
Bud
already
Lane,
there.
the train system.
CT, were you there that day we walked it? The first day?
Wasn't there, but.
Okay.
You might have to come closer to your microphone.
I live very close to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
area. Whatever may move forward with that area, I know there's been some discussion about a grant to have that area declared as part of a wilderness corridor. or
Or
something.
Parks and Rec corridor or something like that.
Would there be any disadvantage to us advocating to the Board of Trustees that that area be designated officially in some capacity as open space parks area?
So it already is.
It already-
It is.
But it's being considered for like things like housing too.
Right, and that's why that was like,
It is
there's
designated
some
open,
environmental concern and stuff like
But
that.
it doesn't have,
I believe.
but they might put houses on it.
Right.
So it's not
Right.
gonna be open space necessarily.
So would it make
I
sense
mean, that can
to,
always change, right?
is that something that if we all decided like, yeah, the community is interested in this and they've shown their support via letters, that we could then say, if we all, or enough of us thought that space should be used for some bike type of features, and then like also designated as an open space, that we could then say, hey, BOT, we'd like this to happen. And then Nikki can say, yep, we'll just support that project as it goes forward and make sure it's done in accordance with what the town.
Yeah, and politically, it would be great if that could be coupled with maybe but more formal commitment or recommitment of like
That space.
the old town shop site as.
And it seems like
affordable
then we
housing.
could totally put
Right,
walking
because-
stuff through there too, at that point. It would be like a,
What I find is that when there is one thing on the table,
and more comes out.
the board might feel like they're excluding the other potential.
Sure.
And when there's,
Well, there's always
when,
that.
but when both things are put on the table simultaneously,
Oh, okay.
then they'll be like, oh, well, we have one parks thing and one housing thing.
Gotcha.
They generally people feel better about making those sorts of decisions when they can make both at once rather than feel like they're excluding something.
Well, then what I'll do is I'll get letters of support for this type of sort of terrain.
Or like, could it be an either or? Could the old town shop be a potential for a bike park and then the other be affordable housing?
Right.
Yeah.
Or would you have to designate?
Oh, yeah. So here's my thought.
The
is that
neighborhood around the old town shop would
If I go
die
in-
before letting it become a bike park.
Yes, they would.
If I were to go out and get like letters of support for a bike park, location independent, just like that being in and on town land somewhere, then we could look at it from a,
Yeah, and there's a lot of land there. And I think that there's an argument to be made that both things can happen
yeah.
on either side of that road,
Okay.
on town land. I mean, I don't think,
I mean, if you guys think I'm open to revisiting it, it seemed like it was kind of challenging, but I'm open to it.
but basically nothing's been done with it. Nothing's been done with it.
Yeah,
done
because
with it
that's a
for long.
project that, like, the beauty of that project is if we got the letters and then we said, we recommend this, VOT said, yeah, cool, we're good with this too, it can happen like basically immediately.
Right.
So it's a kind of some infrastructure and products and recreation that can happen quickly, which is kind of,
You're talking about the land by the Caribou Room?
Yes.
Yeah.
That area sees a lot of wildlife moving through it. And while nothing has been done with it for quite some time, there's a lot of nature that takes place there and is enjoyed by people that use the already established trails.
Indeed. And that will immediately be the argument that is made if anybody proposes a housing development.
so RHCT, are you kind of saying, I know we're getting close to that hard cutoff that we want to hit.
Yeah.
But are you kind of proposing that some kind of like bike features in park, like environmentally, consistent with what is possible?
Like, keep it.
I am simply
Okay.
proposing that that area be designated as a park.
And not
And
have.
from there, we can move forward with what features of the park, et
Yeah.
cetera. But simply designating that as what it already is, a publicly utilized outdoor space, we can then fill in the blanks with some priorities, while also making accommodations for the rich nature that's already thriving.
Yeah, and the idea would be to like have a park that is like integrated into the landscape that's there, not destroying it. You're like, look at this, dirt pile now.
Of course, but like changing aspects of a park is a much easier discussion than let's go from ground zero to something that's totally not.
Right.
Sure.
I'd just like to see that area get recognition in every possible sense as parkland. So I think we ought to, and I think we ought to come up with
Nice.
official policy as a board regarding that piece of property.
So is that something we would do like prior to even this, where we make a recommendation to the VOT that this becomes a piece of park?
I don't
and
know.
open space?
Do you think that people be down, like we said, like flexibility is the name of the game with town stuff. Like, I don't imagine there being much enthusiasm for dedicating.
Yeah, my suspicion would be it might be a better idea to start building park features before it's a park. And then it becomes a park
Okay.
de facto.
Well, good news, because there's already some excellent
Yeah,
park features there.
Indeed.
Formalizing trails that exist on that property, removing some of the slash, et
Yep.
cetera, could go a long way towards
Yeah, the train
really
there.
getting people in the area.
And see, and that's also a way that you kind of argue like, look at how bike features are going to benefit
Right.
the area in general. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to be able to clear away some of the slash. We're going to be able to clean up
Yeah.
some of these trails. We're going to be able to ensure connectivity. And the side effect of that will be you'll have bike features as well.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go down that path. We'll do I think, support letters. I think those are critical.
To me, it's
Like,
most sensible.
the desire for that in the community. We want to make sure that we have the support. And
Trail maintenance tool that already exists, improving what we've got, getting it more in people's heads that this is a parkland, is a very manageable project. Which we don't have to instill any controversy to improve what's already there.
yeah, I try to keep it not controversial, just like that.
And it's also never a bad idea to talk to BOT members one-on-one
Okay,
to
sure.
kind of get a sense of what
Their
their priorities are so that you can write your proposal targeted.
consistent with the priority
exactly.
interests and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can I ask a question real quick? I'm just looking at the town park map, and that area is currently labeled Indian Peaks Open Space.
Yes.
Does that mean it is not? I always thought it was already designated a park. Does that mean that it isn't, but it's open space, or what is the designation
Yeah,
right now?
open space falls kind of under parks, but I'm actually,
That's attached to Indian
I
Peaks.
would need to look at how exactly open space is dealt with in town code, but I'm not sure that I don't think that it is the same as in Boulder County in general. Like Boulder County open space were created through referendums, so I'm not sure that the towns were. And in that sense, I think the VOT probably has a lot more flexibility with how they use open space.
I've heard of that being.
Yeah, so like,
It's my suspicion.
it's designated currently as open space,
Right.
but it could be undesignated
Right.
without a vote.
Easily,
Right.
yeah.
It's my suspicion.
Got it.
I don't know if that's true, but I think that's the way it
That's the
works.
expression I got.
Yeah.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, what you call it at night.
Yeah, I have nothing on community wildfire protection plan anyway.
Great.
No updates for that. So that's just other business.
No business.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, everybody.
For the minutes, that was 3 people seconding.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, Kat.
Maybe, can you hit that gavel like that? Somebody knows how to use
It's for fun.
It is for fun. For when it gets rowdy.
I put in all caps on the notes that the meeting was adjourned and then the participating spouses will be happy.
God bless you for doing all the agendas and all that kind of stuff. One thing that I started to with this.
Yeah.
Keeper? Yeah, it was something. You start piecing on it.
That's a great idea.
I've been sitting at home. Wait a minute. And like, it's best not to.
Well, and also,
I agree.
like, you always feel like everyone else's agenda item is taking longer than yours does. Sure. And then you don't like realize that you're actually the one rambling.
Well, I think this is a way that I could.
If you want a fresh map, every comment with a summer like clear, you just put them in like 2 months ago. Refill the dog bags. Sorry. You know what? I appreciate.
One thing I do want to talk about